Let's take a look at this this problem, specifically this test. And eyes aren't very good, so hopefully I can see it all right. Okay, problem 1. We got 12 plus negative 29 plus negative 36 plus 41. Now first thing we want to do is we want to apply our shortcuts. So here we have plus parentheses minus, that becomes a minus. Here we got plus parentheses minus, that becomes a minus. And then that just carries down. Okay, we're going to handle this from left to right, so we'll do these first two numbers. We got positive 12 and negative 29, so different signs. So our steps say to ignore the signs. So we got 29 and 12. Subtract the smaller from larger. So 29 minus 12 gives us, was it 17? And the sign of the answer is the original sign of the larger number, which was 29, which was negative. So we're going to have negative 17, and then the rest of it carries down. Okay, now I'm going to do these two numbers. These are the same signs, so we're going to ignore the signs. So we got 17, 36. We'll add them together. 17 plus 36 gives us 53. And the sign of the answer is the original sign, and they originally were negative. So we got negative 53 plus 41. Well, our last two numbers then, one's negative, one's positive, so the different signs. So we ignore the signs. We got 53 and 41. Subtract the smaller from larger. 53 minus 41 gives us 12. And sign of the answer is the original sign of the larger number, which was negative. So that gives us negative 12. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. And we'll go to the next question. Okay. I think that's a plus. I tried to zoom that and I didn't have much luck. So I got negative 13 over 15 plus 5 over 6. And it says add. Oh, it says add. So I guess it is a plus. Okay. Well, our first step is we want to get a common denominator. Well, let's find the LCM, which will also be our least common denominator. So we'll find the LCM of 15 and 6. Okay, so our first step over here is to write prime factorization of each one of these down. Well, if I look at 15, I start with my first prime, which is 2. It's not divisible by 2, so I go to my next prime, which is 3. It is divisible by 3, 3 times 5. So we'll have 3 times 5. Now for our 6, we'll start with our first prime, which is 2. It is divisible by 2, 2 times 3. And I didn't say it, but these are primes, so I circle them. These are primes, so I circle them. So this prime factorization is 2 times 3. Okay, so for our LCM, we start with our first prime, which is 2. And I'm looking for the greatest number of 2's on any single line. There's none here, there's 1 here, so the greatest number of 2's on any single line is 1. Now I go to my next prime, which is a 3. And I'm looking for the greatest number of 3's on any single line. There's 1 here, there's 1 here, so the greatest number of 3's on a single line is 1. And then I go to my next number, which is 5. And I'm looking for the greatest number of 5's on a single line. There's 1 here, none here, so the greatest number of 5's on a single line is 1. Well, 2 times 3 is 6, times 5 is 30. So that's our LCM, which will also be our common denominator. So we're going to rewrite each fraction with that new denominator. Now you look at your old denominator and you ask, what did you multiply it by to get your new one? For example, in this one, I multiplied the old denominator by 2, so we're going to multiply the top part by 2. Now over in this fraction, we multiplied the bottom part by 5, so we're going to multiply the top part by 5. So that gives us negative 26 over 30 plus 25 over 30. Now step 2 says to add or subtract your top parts and put into a single fraction. Well, negative 26 plus 25 gives us negative 1, and our denominator stays as is. Now step 3 would say to simplify this, but we're actually done. So that's our answer. Negative 1 over 30. So I'm going to put a fraction in there and do negative 1 over 30. And say next question. And this one we're going to subtract these two fractions. Okay, so we're going to have 22 over 35 minus 3 over 10. Well, in order to subtract these, again, we have to have a common denominator. That's our first step. Get a common denominator. Well, let's find the LCM of 35 and 10. And I know some of these you can probably look at and see, like LCM is 70, which is our common denominator. But I'm going to show you the steps for doing it. Okay, first step over here is we write prime factorization of each number down. Now 35, start with our first prime, which is 2. It's not divisible by 2, so we'll go to our next prime, which is 3. It's not divisible by 3, so we'll go to our next prime, which is 5. And it is divisible by 5. 5 times 7. So 5's prime, so we circle it. 7's prime, so we circle it. So this would be 5 times 7. Now for 10, start with our first prime. It is divisible by 2. 2 times 5. And 2's prime, so we circle it. And 5's prime, so we circle it. Okay, so our LCM. We'll start with our first prime, which is 2. And I'm looking for the greatest number of 2's on a single line. There's none here, there's 1 here, so the greatest number of 2's on a single line is 1. Now I go to the 5. And I'm looking for the greatest number of 5's on a single line. There's 1 here, there's 1 here, so our greatest number of 5's is 1. And then I go to 7. And I'm looking for the greatest number of 7's on a single line. There's 1 here, none here, so the greatest number of 7's is 1. Excuse me. 2 times 5 is 10, times 7 is 70. So that's our LCM, and that'll also be our common denominator. Now you look at your old denominator, and you ask, what did you multiply by to get your new one? Well, we took 35 times 2, so we have to multiply the top part by 2. Whatever you multiply by the bottom, you have to multiply by the top. In our second fraction here, we multiply the bottom part by 7, so we have to multiply the top part by 7. So that's going to give us 44 over 70 minus 3 times 7 is 21 over 70. Step 2. Add or subtract top parts. 44 minus 21 is 23, I think, over 70. And our last step would be to simplify this fraction, but I believe 23 is prime, so that would be your answer. So I got 23 over 70. And I click next question. And what are we doing here? Evaluate and write the lowest terms. And assuming I can see this, I think that... Oh, eyes are bad. I may get this one wrong, just from the fact I can't see it. Okay. Where's a coin when you need it? I'll assume that's a, let me go to the next problem, see what it is. Okay, next problem is that this is probably a divide. Let's say it's a divide. If I get it wrong, then I'll go back and work it the other way. Negative 5, 6. I think I tried to increase this font in here in Chrome, and I'm not very sharp with Chrome, and I couldn't figure it out. In IE, I just have trouble with in general, so I'm sticking away from it. So we'll pretend that's a divide. We never actually divide. We immediately rewrite as multiplication. So divide becomes multiplication, and how we do that is we flip the second fraction, take a reciprocal of it. Reciprocal means fraction flipped. So the negative 5 over 6 becomes 6 over negative 5. Now our first step in multiplying fractions is you look for a number on top, a number on the bottom that can both be divided by the same number. Well, here's 6 and 9. Those are both divisible by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we're going to have 5 over 3 times 2 over negative 5. The only guideline is one's on top, one's on the bottom, and you can divide them both by the same number. They don't have to be in the same fraction. They can be, but they don't have to be. Well, here's a 5 and here's a 5. Those are both divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So we're left with 1 over 3 times 2 over negative 1. Now there's no more simplifying to do, so step 2 in multiplying fractions together is multiply your top parts together. 1 times 2 is 2, and multiply your bottom parts together. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. So we got negative 2/3. And you can put the negative wherever you want. I wonder if I put my mouse over that, it'll tell me. I guess not. Okay. Let's take a look at this problem. I guess it is time to go see the eye doctor. I bet like that woman that's letting the raccoon in the house because she thinks it's a cat on that commercial. Let's see. 2 plus negative 6. Is that to the third power or times 3? Times 3. Okay. This is an order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And we do what's inside the parentheses or brackets. Well, here's brackets. Within the brackets we have parentheses, but there's nothing left to do inside the parentheses. So please excuse. We're still doing what's inside the brackets. There's no exponents in here. My dear, multiplication and division is you can count either one from left to right. Well, here's a multiplication. So we're going to have 12 minus 2 plus negative 6 times 3 gives us negative 18. Now we always apply our shortcuts wherever we run across them. And here we got plus parentheses minus, which becomes a minus. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Addition and subtraction. Well, here's our next one. We're going to combine these two numbers together. So we got 12 minus. Different signs. One's positive, one's negative. I ignore the signs, subtract them. We got 18 minus 2 is 16. And the sign of our answer is the original sign of a larger number, which is 18, which is negative. And we got another negative negative, so that becomes a positive. And then last thing we have to do is add these together, which gives us 28. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Got negative 3 squared. Hopefully that's a plus. Plus 4 squared. I'm assuming that's a divide, kind of looks like one. 3 squared minus 5. Okay, now that I know what a divide looks like, because a plus looks like it's a little bit slightly different. Which one was it I wasn't sure about? Number 4? Yeah, that did look like a divide. Okay. Let's work this one. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please, there's parentheses, so we're going to work inside the parentheses here. Within the parentheses, excuse, exponents. So we'll do the 3 squared first. Everything else is going to carry down. 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3. Still doing what's inside the parentheses. The only thing left is this subtraction. Aunt Sally, addition, subtraction. 9 minus 5 gives us 4, and I no longer need to keep those parentheses there because they're not serving any purpose once you do that. Okay, now we're done with the parentheses. Please excuse exponents. Well, my first exponent from left to right is this 3 squared. So this is going to become negative 9 plus 4 squared divided by 4. Now this squared, remember an exponent only affects what's to its immediate left. Unless there's parentheses, then it affects everything. What's to its immediate left of this 2 is just the 3. That's why we took 3 squared. 3 times 3 gives us 9, and the negative just carried down. We're still on the excuse part, exponents. Here's another exponent, 4 squared. So we've got negative 9 plus 16 divided by 4. Please excuse my dear multiplication and division as I counter either one from left to right. Here's 16 divided by 4, which gives us 4. Aunt Sally, addition and subtraction. Well, these are different signs, so I ignore the signs. I got 9 and 4. Since they're different signs, I subtract smaller from larger. 9 minus 4 is 5. And the sign of our answer is the original sign of a larger number, which was 9, which was negative. So our answer is negative 5. Oops. Try that again. And next question. Okay, let's look at this one. Let me start on a new page. We got 3 squared minus 2 over 12 minus 2 times 3 squared. Okay, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we're going to do what's inside the parentheses first. Well, within inside the parentheses, there's a fraction. And how you handle fractions is you do the top part separate from the bottom part, and then you handle the fraction. So let's look at the top part. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please, there's no parentheses up on top. Excuse exponents. Well, we do got an exponent, the 3 squared. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, so we got 9 minus 2. Now on the bottom part, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. There's no parentheses, there's no exponents. My dear, multiplication and division, as you can count it from left to right. Well, here's 2 times 3. So that's going to give us 6. Okay, back up on top, there's only one thing left. 9 minus 2 is 7. Down below, 12 minus 6 is 6 squared. Okay, now what's 7, 6, we can't handle that fraction at all. It doesn't divide into it evenly or anything. And what 7 6 the second power means is 7 6 times 7 6. If we multiply top parts together, 7 times 7 is 49. 6 times 6 is 36. So our answer would be 49 over 36. So 49 over 36. That's the next question. Okay, so we got negative 6 times n minus 5. I'm pretty sure that's a plus. 2 times n plus 1. Well, always we get rid of parentheses, so we're going to do that. So we're going to take this negative 6 multiplied times the n and times the negative 5. And we'll take this 2 and multiply times the n and times the 1. This is the distributive property. Negative 6 times n is negative 6n. Negative 6 times negative 5 is positive 30. 2 times n is 2n, and 2 times 1 gives us 2. Now we should always combine together like terms. And here we got negative 6n plus 2n. Like terms is where you have the same variable, the same power. These are both n to the first power. To combine together like terms, you add or subtract the numbers that are in front of them. So we got negative 6 plus 2. That gives us negative 4n. And you should always combine together numbers. Here we got 30 plus 2. That gives us 32. So that would be our answer. Negative 4n plus 32. Let's see, next question. Okay. On this one, we have 8n minus 9 minus 4n minus 7. Well, whenever you have a negative out in front of your parentheses, that's going to flip a sign of everything inside. It's like multiplying negative 1 through. Now, this first set of parentheses doesn't do anything, so I can just drop them. You always want to get rid of parentheses. It just simplifies it. And again, this negative flips the sign of everything, so positive 4n becomes a negative 4n. The negative 7 becomes a positive 7. Combine together like terms at any step. 8n minus 4n gives us 4n. Combine together numbers at any step. Negative 9 plus 7 gives us negative 2. So our answer is 4n minus 2. And next question. And let's take a look at this one. Ah, that's great. Drop my pen. At least I didn't say a bad word. Okay. Maybe What's that color? Oh, there. Okay. 4 times z plus 5 minus 9z. And again, always we'll get rid of the parentheses. So we're going to take this 4 and multiply through. 4 times z and 4 times 5. Distributive property. 4 times z is 4z. 4 times 5 is 20. Minus 9z. Always combine together like terms. Like terms, same variable to the same power. These are both z to the first power. So we'll combine those together. And again, you combine them together by adding or subtracting numbers in front of them. 4 minus 9 gives us negative 5z, and then plus 20. And that's our answer. So negative 5z plus 20. Now I'm pretty comfortable with my work here. I'm not very comfortable with me actually seeing correctly what this says, so we'll see. I'm going to blame any errors on the fact that my eyes are poor. I'm going to click Submit Test. And, oh, they're all green. I thought it told me my score somewhere. Correct, 10. Let me go to Results. Maybe. Okay, yeah, there it is. I got 100 out of 100. Didn't do very well in section 1.2, but oh well. Anyway, that's the chapter 1 test review.